In today's video, we're gonna get really up close and personal. I am sharing my full fitness journey from college all the way until now and how I fell in love with fitness because I truly believe that you can too. In fact, I think it's the only way for us to make health and fitness a permanent part of our life. So get comfortable, grab a coffee or a tea maybe. Let's do this. I'm gonna give you some context before we start. So I started dancing when I was 5 or 6 years old, and apart from a couple of years that I took off, I danced from then all the way through graduating high school. So for all of high school, I was on the dance team. I loved to dance, and because of that, I never dreaded working out or fitness because it was just a part of my routine going to dance class and dance rehearsals. So I was able to stay really fit and relatively healthy without putting much thought into it because my exercise was just built into my schedule already, which was amazing. And I feel like it gave me a really good foundation to build off of. But when I got to college, I needed to find a way to stay fit and stay healthy. So I decided to start going to my college gym. I just recently did a whole video about gym anxiety. So if you're looking for some tips, I'll link it. But in that video, I did talk about my experience a little bit. And let's just say, as a freshman walking into that gym, having never been to a gym before, was incredibly nerve-wracking, and I had so much gym anxiety. I remember in my first week, I went to the weights section. I felt so uncomfortable and awkward because I had no idea what I was doing that I immediately left, and I don't think I went back to the weights section for 6 months after that. So at the beginning, I would basically just walk or jog on the treadmill a little bit and then go lay down a yoga mat and do some ab exercises, and that would be my whole workout. After about 6 months of that, I started to feel a little bit more confident and I started to dabble with weightlifting. A good friend of mine played volleyball pretty seriously in high school, and at that point she had been going to the gym and lifting weights and strength training, so she knew a lot of the good form and how to actually lift weights and work out at a gym, and she was very kind to go to the gym with me a lot, and we would work out together and she would kind of show me the ropes, so that was awesome. But I was also watching tons of health and fitness content. I would follow a lot of Sarah's Day or Whitney Simmons workouts. This was back in like 2018, so at this point my fitness goals started to change a little bit, and I started wanting to look more toned and not skinny, which for me was really a step in the right direction coming from high school. I wanted to start building my legs and glutes, and this was honestly a really healthy change for me. I'm glad that societally we started moving in that direction a little bit. When I was in middle school and high school, it was the Victoria's Secret Angel era. I remember back in the day, I had a photo of Alexis Ren as my phone wallpaper. If you know, you know. That's probably all I need to say for you to understand. If you were around during that era, there was some crazy stuff going on online. The ideal body was just so thin. I was glad to see this evolution of women's bodies where strength training, weightlifting, building muscle became a little bit more popular, and it was a really important part in my journey because that encouraged me to get into it. And now I couldn't give a damn what's popular or what's not in the fitness industry and in terms of physique, but back then I was young, I was impressionable, so it was good to see these positive role models. This was when I really first started to fall in love with fitness. I was a ball of stress. I mean, I am still a ball of stress, but when I was in school, I was very stressed. I got straight A's from middle school all the way through college graduation. So I didn't get a single B or less in any class I ever took because I'm crazy. I noticed how much better I felt when I worked out. Like, it was kind of built into my life when I was a dancer, and I'm so fortunate for that because I'm sure it did help me with stress. When I started kind of having to take things into my own hands, I really noticed how much of a difference it made. The weeks that I didn't work out, I would just feel a lot worse. I felt more stressed and uptight. I felt like I had a shorter fuse. I felt more emotional. When I picked up on that, that really changed things for me because I understood it wasn't just about a certain physique or health or whatnot. It also changed how I felt. I noticed too how much it improved my confidence, and even though I wasn't really seeing really any physique changes at that time, I just felt so much more confident both physically and mentally in myself. And I think a huge part of my first time really falling in love with fitness was that I romanticized it, and I didn't realize I was romanticizing it. I think it was just the like 2018, 2019 fitness influencer era. This was the time of like Natasha Ocean and Sarah's Day and Whitney Simmons. By the way, all of them I still follow to this day. It was really just becoming popular for women to be like strong and fit and working out, and I was obsessed. I would listen to podcasts, I would look up recipes on Instagram, I would watch YouTube videos and vlogs, and like I just always was feeling so inspired because I was so into that world, and I had so many great examples of people, different lifestyles, different approaches, and I was able to kind of look through and pick what I thought was going to work for me. And there was something just so inspiring and motivating about following so many people who were doing the same things that I was, and it just made me so excited to get out there and do it. Like, I would love trying new healthy recipes, and I would always share them with my friends and family. They weren't always well received because sometimes they weren't very tasty, but anyway, I just remember being so proud of myself and being like, yeah, I'm gonna get fit, I'm gonna be healthy, like I'm killing it, I'm on it. And I just feel like even though there weren't that many people in my life that I can remember being that into health and fitness, I was able to find that online, and that's actually a big part of the reason why I started my channel, because it would be such an honor if I could provide that sense of inspiration and motivation and connection to any of you watching. At this time, I tried to eat healthy, but I didn't really know what that meant. I didn't have any foundational understanding of calories or macros or different types of food and how your body utilizes them and the impacts that that food can have. So I had these kind of categorizations of things being healthy versus unhealthy. Some of the categorizations, looking back on them, are really silly. I thought coconut flour and honey were healthy, and I thought white flour and white sugar were unhealthy. I don't want to really get into the details of all this because there's some nuance here, and sometimes the more natural option or the more whole grain option, etc., has some actual benefits to it, but oftentimes the differences are slim. For example, a tablespoon of honey still has quite a bit of sugar, almost as much as white sugar, and although there are some additional benefits to honey that white sugar doesn't have, it's not that big of a difference and it's still sugar. So I thought that smoothies were healthy and cereal was unhealthy. I thought that whole grain pasta was fine, but that regular pasta was unhealthy. I thought that if a dessert was like gluten-free with no refined sugars, then I could eat essentially unlimited amounts of it without gaining any weight or fat, which is just not true at all. I remember I would make these protein balls. I should really put protein in quotations because all they included were peanut butter, honey, oats, and chocolate chips. And I had the audacity to call that a protein ball. Like, that had trace protein, like maybe a gram or two each. Anyway, there's nothing wrong with that, but I just didn't really know what was good protein, what was not, what was reasonable amounts, like how you can craft your day to get the right balance of everything. Like, I was just winging it. I was having fun, but I was winging it. Then in May of 2021, I graduated college, and exactly 7 days after my graduation, I started working full-time, and I continued working full-time at the same company for about 2.5 years after that. I was a corporate girly. This was my first foray into managing adult life, and let me tell you, I was struggling. I started snoozing my morning alarm because I was so exhausted. I would skip a lot of workouts. I did end up hitting an average of probably 2 or 3 a week, 2 of which almost always were on Saturday and Sunday because I just didn't have very good luck with working out on work days, and those sessions would be purely weightlifting. Since this was 2021 and we were coming out of the pandemic era where I was forced to do a ton of home workouts and a lot of outdoor running and different stuff because the gyms in my area were closed, I told myself I'm only working out at a gym. I want to use a barbell, I want to use machines, I want to be lifting heavy, getting strong in a gym setting. I'm sick of working out at home, I'm done. Because of that, I was very rigid in the style of training I would do, so if I woke up even 15 minutes too late, I couldn't go to the gym because I literally didn't have time to drive there and back. I moved from sunny, warm Southern California where I'd lived my whole life to somewhere that had a real winter, like snow, ice type winter. And I was genuinely afraid of the cold. So I used to be pretty active, like walking, going outside, things like that. During like 6 months out of the year when it was cold, I just stopped doing that completely. I also was working from home usually like 3 to 5 days a week. And on those days, I would often not leave the house at all day. So there could be multiple days in a row where I wouldn't leave the house, which was great in some ways, but I just became very, very sedentary. My tendency to be a ball of stress continued right into corporate life because I was new to my job, and although my team was like amazing and so supportive, I was very hard on myself because I was a perfectionist. I still am, and I was still learning, but I was trying so hard to be perfect and do the best job that I could. This led to a lot of comfort eating, comfort snacking, and also just convenience eating. Like, I was so focused on my job and managing my house and keeping things clean and cooking and doing dishes and buying things for my new apartment and like all the stuff that goes on. I was budgeting for the first time, really. I just wanted stuff that was quick and easy. So I was eating a lot of like bagels and mac and cheese and pasta, and none of these things are bad, but I just wasn't really getting in fruits and vegetables. I wasn't prioritizing protein, and I was just eating a lot of calories because I was kind of comfort snacking a lot of the time. I swear the gardeners only come on days that I film. I'm gonna give them a minute. I was also eating a lot of food from the office. So my office would do catered lunch 2 days a week. One of those days was always pizza, and they would over order sometimes, and I would end up bringing home sometimes multiple boxes of pizza home with me for free. So that wasn't helping. I feel like I didn't romanticize healthy food anymore, and it just wasn't a goal or a priority of mine. I was just going through it. I was just trying to get through the day. So because of all these factors combined, less exercise, less activity, being more sedentary day to day, convenience eating, comfort snacking, working from home and snacking all day, food at the office, bringing that food home, I started to slowly gain weight. And the key word here is slowly, because the fact that it happened so slowly is why I didn't notice it. I was probably gaining half a pound to a pound a month, at least looking back. That's what I was able to kind of like average it to. Luckily, some of that was muscle because I was eating in a calorie surplus and I was lifting heavy weights at the gym a couple days a week. So that's good, but otherwise I was not doing great. I felt a difference at this point. I felt tired. I felt lethargic. I noticed I would get out of breath walking up and down the stairs, and that was really hard for me because I was normally a person who was fit and active and just ready to go for any occasion. occasion. And I felt like now I could barely go upstairs at the office while having a conversation with someone, and I would get so out of breath. I hit my personal breaking point. I remember the day exactly. It was the day after some friends had visited me for my birthday in March of 2023. And we had a super fun weekend. We were eating lots of food. We were drinking some alcohol, staying up late. It was so fun. But I felt fluffy. And I stepped on the scale that morning and I was the heaviest weight I'd ever been by 30 pounds. And I was like, okay, this is gonna be it. I'm done. I felt terrible. My clothes didn't fit anymore. I was having to get like a whole new wardrobe. I didn't feel good. I wasn't prioritizing myself and I knew I needed to make a change. And I was like, this is it. So I took some before photos, which if you've ever taken those before, it is so confronting and terrible. Just know it is so worth it. I'm so thankful I have those photos. But the day I was taking them, I was like, oh my God, I don't recognize that person in the mirror. So I spent weeks researching fat loss and making a plan. And you know what? I was like, I'm going straight to the experts here. I don't have time to mess around. So I watched a lot of dietitian content and a little bit of kind of like PhD researcher content, people like Andrew Huberman, to create my master plan. Because of kind of a lot of people I'd followed on social media and a lot of the dietitian content I was watching, I was so against counting calories. I'm so grateful for the dietitians that make high quality content online, but a lot of those people are targeting individuals that have had a difficult relationship with food or an eating disorder. And I personally was not struggling with any of those issues. So for me, avoiding counting calories ended up being really, really bad. And I will explain why. And everyone's different, so don't think that just because it worked for me, it's gonna work for you. It really depends on tons of different factors. But here's why my avoidance of counting calories ended up being so awful for me. Instead of trying to get my calorie deficit from food, I decided to try and get it mostly from exercise, which meant I was exercising an insane amount and I was so exhausted and I was getting sick constantly because I was overworking myself and not recovering because I needed to exercise so much to create that calorie deficit. For example, I would try to do a 90-minute bike session a couple times a week where I would go at full out intensity for an hour and a half and I would burn like 1,000 calories doing this. And it was insane. I would try and do that multiple times a week on top of heavy lifting sessions. I tried to eat intuitively and not cut anything out of my diet, but what that ended up meaning is that I just didn't lose any weight because I couldn't intuitively decrease what I was eating. It just didn't work for me personally. It's hard for me to understand how it could work for anyone, but I have heard that it does. I also went back to my old ways of categorizing foods as healthy or unhealthy. And since I had no way of measuring it besides that, I would feel so guilty and so bad if I had a food I thought was unhealthy. So for example, I could have a great day of eating where I ate high protein and lots of whole foods and whatever. And then if I had a slice of cake for dessert that night, I would be like, well, that's an unhealthy food. You failed today. It was just a really bad mindset for me. And I felt like I had no other way of measuring success. So I got really strict about the foods that I could or couldn't eat. And it just wasn't a good time. I also got so hyper fixated on my protein goals because I'd heard about how good it was for maintaining muscle and for feeling satiated that I would overeat just to hit my protein goals, which in hindsight, that makes absolutely no sense. If you're trying to lose fat, forcing yourself to eat when you're not hungry just to hit a protein goal, I absolutely shouldn't have been doing that. But in a 6-month period, I lost a couple of pounds. But let me tell you, I was working so hard. That was not enough results for how hard I was working. I was exhausted. So by Thanksgiving of 2023, so about 6 months in-ish, I was fed up again. And I was like, okay, I've got to figure something out here because this isn't working. I can't keep doing this for years and years to get the results that I want to get. I was like, screw it. I'm going to start tracking calories because I hear that that works for a lot of people. Let's see what happens. Tracking calories doubled my rate of fat loss almost instantly. Things finally clicked for me at this point. I feel like this is when I started to see the results of compounding good habits I've been building over the last year. So things like drinking more water, getting better sleep, eating more whole foods, eating more protein, being more active on a daily basis, taking more walks, like all of these little habits I'd built so slowly. I felt like all came together with tracking calories. And finally I was getting the results that I wanted and that I was proud of and that I was like, okay, I can actually do this. I think within another year, I could reach my physique goals that I have and then get back to my normal life. Because at this point I was like, I have been thinking about this for so long, like struggling with my body image, struggling with not feeling like myself, not feeling fit. Like I need to figure this out and get back to my life. I was also tracking my progress using my weight on the scale, progress photos, measurements, and that helped me so much to stay motivated and really fall in love with the process because I was able to see like, this is working. I'm getting results. I was really hesitant to use metrics or measurements previously because I thought it was just going to make me feel bad, which it did if I wasn't getting good results, but then I had the information I needed to make a change. So for me, that was really helpful. After a couple of years of really struggling, this is when I fell in love with fitness again. And there are so many reasons. I'm going to walk through all of them. The first thing was experimenting with new workout styles. So for a couple of years after like 2021, when the gyms reopened after the pandemic, I got super obsessed with science-based training, which was awesome. I learned so much, but I had boxed myself in to only be able to follow super optimized optimized, science-based, perfect workout plans. What I transitioned to do instead that worked a lot better for me was to be flexible to my energy levels, how I felt, what sounded fun, and what I just wanted to do or had time for that day. So I started working out at home again, which has been so amazing for me. I still do work out at the gym a couple days a week. I work out at home a couple days a week. I like to work out outdoors when the weather is nice. I would wake up every day and say, okay, I've got 20 minutes. I'm feeling really exhausted. What's the right workout for me today? And I would do that for every single workout rather than forcing myself to follow a rigid, optimized plan for the best possible results or whatnot. I would just go with the flow. It's not revolutionary, but I feel like in a way it also is, because today there's so much great information that's so powerful about how to optimize your health and fitness. But sometimes I think that can be the enemy of actually creating something that's sustainable and actually fun and enjoyable. Getting back to the basics of like the classic 2016 advice of finding a fitness style that you love was such a game changer for me. It's interesting because I still love the science side of things and I love understanding the different adaptations and how to program. I got my personal training certification around this time as well, and I'm just so obsessed with that and I love learning about it. But at the same time, taking that and trying to convert it into something that's flexible, that's enjoyable, that's balanced, that's genuinely fun and interesting, rather than just kind of like being a drill sergeant with myself and being like, this is your plan, this is what you're doing today, whether you like it or not, I don't care. That attitude just wasn't working for me. I also found that pushing myself was important, but not too far. Like I mentioned, I would exhaust myself most of the time working so hard and trying to get so many hours of workouts in. And I think I just realized that we all have a breaking point, a tipping point where things start to go south fast. I do think it requires some experimentation because it's going to be different for everyone. But for me, I realized that I just can't recover that well from doing tons and tons of exercise. So I've really had to scale it back a little and be more particular with the types of exercise that I'm doing and the amounts to try to be as effective as possible within kind of a small window. Personally, I can't be doing an hour-long gym session 6 days a week. I will die. I was literally making myself sick because I was overworking and just not recovering properly, and my body just couldn't take it. My immune system was just worn down. Now I don't follow any program strictly. I take breaks when I need it. I sleep in some days when I feel like I need it instead of working out. And I've also lowered the bar a little bit, and this was huge for me. Like I used to have this mindset that if it wasn't like a super sweaty session, don't even bother. And that was so detrimental to both my relationship with fitness and health, but also to my results in terms of losing fat. Now I've really changed my perspective. I see now how each style of fitness can fit into a program to be really effective and how each can contribute to how you look and how you feel. So for example, I used to think a walk wasn't a workout. Now I do. And some days my only form of activity is a little bit of walking, and that's great. I also love stretching and mobility. Some days I'll just do a 10-minute ab session and that's it. But rather than skipping my workout altogether when I'm in a time crunch or I'm low energy, now I just find something that better suits my needs that day. I've just become a lot more flexible, and that's helped a lot. And that brings us to today. I am down officially 30 pounds from where I started a year and a half ago. I'm very close to the weight I was in college, but I look so much better, if I do say so myself, now than I did then because I've gained a lot of muscle. I have more ab definition than I've ever had in my life. Like I'm certainly not a bodybuilder by any means, but it's the best that I've looked. So I love that for me. I can do push-ups now, which I couldn't say a year and a half ago, and I'm very proud of that. I can also do burpees, and like I really feel confident in HIIT workouts and functional styles of training, which is something I dreamt of. I feel like I've finally shed that perspective of unhealthy versus healthy foods, and now I really feel like I understand how everything can fit into a balanced diet. But I will say, once you know calories, you can't go back. Like I wish I could go back in time to high school and sit down on the couch with a spoon and a jar of peanut butter and eat peanut butter the same way, because now that I know how many calories are in a spoonful of peanut butter, I just can't go back. Probably for the best, but I'm far from finished when it comes to my health. I still have lots of health goals, and that's part of the reason why it took me so long to make a fitness journey video, even though it has been requested. I want to eat more whole foods. I do want to build a little bit more muscle at some point in the future, but I am going to take a little bit of a break first. I really want to become a better runner because I've dabbled with it in the past and I'm just really, really bad. So I would love to be able to improve at it. But I do know that where I am right now, myself from a year and a half ago would be so happy and so proud. So I'm trying to just enjoy it a little bit. I did a photo shoot recently and got some new like personal branding photos. I've been traveling a lot. I did take a couple weeks off from tracking, which was great because I had been tracking for like 8 months straight, and that is time consuming and also just mentally exhausting. So it was really nice to take some time off doing that. But yeah, I'd be lying if I said I was 100% perfectly happy with my physique. There's definitely still progress that I hope to make in the future, but after a year and a half of being in a calorie deficit, I know I need to give my body a break, so I am. I really hope you leave this video feeling empowered, because trust me, if I can do it, you can too. If you want to fall in love with health and fitness and really make it a part of your life that's fun and enjoyable, I promise you can. I hope you were able to see that through my journey, I had a lot of failures, made a lot of mistakes, a lot of trials, experimentation, but eventually I did get to my fitness goal, losing fat, getting into the best shape of my life, feeling good. Whatever your health goal is for yourself, the really cool thing is, if you don't give up, your success is inevitable, I promise. Thank you so much for watching. I really hope that you enjoyed this video and are able to take something away from it. If you did enjoy it and you'd like to see more from me, make sure to subscribe. I upload new videos every week, and I will see you next time.